and mesh does actually add to the warmth, which surprised me. You don't really walk around barefoot as much unless, you know, you're a man from New Zealand who was dragged here. No, he came voluntarily, I swear. Greetings and salutations, my name is Oracult, and welcome to my sanctuary. To those of you new here, you're very, very welcome, and to the returning subscribers, thank you so much for all the support. And for those of you returning who are still not subscribers, why not? Think about that. Hit that subscribe button, like my videos, and also possibly consider signing up to my Instagram, which will be down here, or somewhere, and it's always under the videos as well. So today, I thought, since we will have, or would have had already, a few Christmas and winter lookbooks and things like that, to do a video about some tips around gothing it in winter, which includes some things around actually gothing it, and just some tips about winter as well in general, and staying warm and all that, and, you know, generally looking after your well-being, especially when you have a winter that goes to, you know, -20, -30 potentially or more, and, you know, the weather being such that it is, and also the season being such that it is, depending on where you are, you might not get enough sunlight as well. So I'm just gonna go through some of these things as well as clothes. We will start with the clothes. So obviously a big thing is layering. I'm not like that good at it, but it does work, especially if you don't actually have to, you know, layer in an artistic way that you can see all the layers. Like, no, not really. Some people do tend to use mesh a bit to just utilize a bit summery dresses and stuff like that, and mesh does actually add to the warmth, which surprised me a little bit. But you can also just, you know, layer things. Like, for example, here I got this plain black top. Nothing particularly remarkable about it. It's just long sleeve. It's, you know, it has a bit of a cute neckline kind of thing, but it's not anything super special. Apart from the fact that this is pure wool, sort of merino kind of thing. Let's see. Yeah, this is merino. So I bought this in New Zealand because it's like merino country over there. And it was like literally $7 New Zealand dollars, which is probably about $5 US, in a charity shop. And this thing does wonders. You can put it under just about any top. You don't, you know that you're wearing it if you're wearing it under like any jumper or sweatshirt. Sweatshirts aren't actually that warm, so this thing under anything really helps, or you can wear it under t-shirts or whatever. Nobody's any the wiser of what it is that you're wearing, but it actually adds lots of warmth. But if you want, you know, something brighter, you can always use something like a bit emo-y, like this thing here, for example. Like, how cool is that? And there's plenty of these tops around as well. And again, this is something pretty generic. Again, this is pure merino wool, so this is again from New Zealand, bought some, you know, store. That's not like of any consequence, but you can find stuff like this anywhere, and again, it will goth up, or, you know, emo up, or whatever, any sort of look that you have, and keep you extra warm. So that's like the top part. So obviously there's also scarves and hats and things like that, but that's, you know, pretty obvious and basic, everyone knows that. Especially it's important to actually wear hats, because you can actually get something really bad, like health-wise, if you over chill your head. You can actually get really bad consequences from that. So I always wear something on my head, and it's like headbands and fancy hats and things like that. As you would have seen my winter lookbook, I always have something on my head there, and especially if it gets to, you know, -20, you just won't get away with running around. I mean, it's nice not to mess up your hair, but seriously, sometimes health is more important, so you do need something on it. Of course, very winter sort of thing to wear is leggings, and I'm not just saying on their own, because frankly, when I wear leggings on their own in winter, I feel like I'm wearing absolutely nothing. But instead of tights under sort of longer dresses and skirts and things like that, they can be very, very good. They're still warmer than tights. Tights are good. In Russia, we wear tights under freaking pants all the time. Sometimes we go thermals as well, but tights under like jeans or whatever is absolutely normal. These days, I even like wear leggings. So if I'm wearing like pants you can't really see through, I wear leggings like this. If I'm actually really wanting to wear just leggings, I wear, you know, a black, just simple pair of leggings under any other leggings I want to wear, so you don't see, you know, any pattern going through the leggings, because they tend to be a bit, you know, so some of them tend to be more see-through than others, and you can actually see the patterns and stuff like that. I see nothing wrong with that. I wear huge fuzzy socks sometimes, lined shoes with, I don't know, fur, wool, whatever you want, like extra layers on your feet always helps. In fact, any cold I ever get usually starts from my feet, and if my feet are cold, I will just not be happy at all. I wear socks under tights on most days anyway, if I'm wearing tights, because frankly, I don't know how you people do it, but I rip every pair of tights I have. Like, I don't know what it is with my nails. Even after I've done a pedicure, I rip all my tights. So I'm used to wearing socks under tights anyway, and especially in winter I do it. Also, I've picked up this pair of super fluffy, like, lined leggings. Like, you can see how fluffy they are, and they're like actually fluffy on the outside as well. It's like a velvety kind of material, and they still look pretty cool. It's a nice pattern, and like they have a thick band here, and they're very, very warm. That really helps as well. So anything like that you can find, and this still actually looks kind of goth with this pattern, and it's not even all black as well, so you can sort of add a little bit of color in occasionally. So also, obviously, you want to use materials as well that are extra warm. So we've already mentioned wool and things like that, but some people are vegan and try not to use it. Some people who are vegan, I know, buy things like second-hand leather and wool, because, you know, you're not buying anything new, so you're not encouraging it, but it's already out there. Because frankly, in this particular climate that we have, I don't actually know how well full leather actually wears and how long. I think in a certain temperature it just cracks over here, so you tend to see in Russia more natural things, as in leather shoes and things like that, so you wouldn't necessarily have a lot of faux leather. I mean, it's still available, but you would see way more leather stuff, just because it just wears here and it doesn't fall apart within like 1 year, because, well, unfortunately a lot of people can't afford to buy, you know, shoes all the time, so they tend to buy something that would last them a bit longer. And similarly with all the synthetic materials, and in some climates it just doesn't cut it. The more you go up north where it's like -50, no one's gonna wear an acrylic jumper, I assure you. It's just not what they do over there. And they actually have, you know, some of them still farm reindeer, for God's sake, that they, you know, use all parts of them, and that's just how people live. So here you will see a lot of natural materials like that, and frankly, in this kind of climate, you want something that breathes as well, because if you constantly sweat and then go outside and sweat then go outside like synthetic stuff makes you, you're actually gonna end up with freaking, I don't know, something. You'll end up with, I don't know, I've had like every single cold under the sun, so I should know. Also, this is the time to wear all your flannel and all your velvet and all the fancy materials that make you sweat like hell during, you know, summer months. So we had a really hot summer. We go to like +30, and that's why we sometimes go to -30. So yeah, it's the time of year for velvet, so everyone who loves velvet is absolutely ecstatic about that, myself included. So another big thing in Russia anyway is when you're going anywhere, you're going to, I don't know, to your friend's house, you're going to the theater, or somewhere, any kind of occasion, I guess, that you need to undress in. You don't really want to walk around in the shoes you've just been outside in, and this is very true of schools. For all schools and kindergartens, all children must have spare shoes. Like, that's a must. It doesn't even matter, I think, if it's summer or winter, it doesn't matter, especially in winter. And sometimes you actually have to bring extra shoes because their shoes get wet. So outside shoes do not use inside ever. And of course, pretty much most places here are slipper country. So you come to anywhere, fancy dinner party at a friend's, you wouldn't bring even slippers to that, you'd just bring spare shoes, like inside proper nice shoes or whatever. But for like, if you're just, you know, mates with the person and you're just there for, you know, movie and pizza kind of thing, they can offer you slippers, or you can bring your own slippers or whatever. But it's just something that we do here. It's not even cold really in the houses, but it's just, you don't really walk around barefoot as much unless, you know, you're a man from New Zealand who was dragged here. No, he came voluntarily, I swear. Unless you're one of those people who just like walking around barefoot, you don't normally do it. Unless you have like really big fluffy socks or something. And the other big thing is when you go anywhere here, like the theater or even a gig, even a metal gig, if it's like a half decent club, even if it's not a decent club really, you will be expected to be able to hang your things in a proper cloakroom and get like a ticket or a number or whatever from there, so you can get your thing back. And that's like normal, because everyone will have a ginormous coat. You don't want to go to a metal show and carry that around, like especially if it's big, heavy, voluminous, and you know, people are running around jumping in the mosh pit. You really don't need that extra gear with you. So anywhere you go here, you would probably be grateful really to have that, because otherwise you'll just have to drag the thing around with you, which is really uncomfortable. So you obviously have lots of puffy jackets over here, like you'd have down jackets and synthetic jackets, and a lot of them, these days they do synthetics that go up to like -20 and stuff like that, so some of them are pretty good. It just depends on where you are, I suppose. In Moscow you can find all these things. It just depends on where you live as well and what people sort of wear around there. And yeah, these days you can find all sorts of things, and you can actually find what temperature it goes down to really. So gloves. Sometimes you can't just get away with, you know, nice sort of very thin knitted gloves you can pick up and like accessorize or whatever. You do need something more serious, either material wise or it needs to be properly lined, because actually your hands can crack in the cold, and I've had that happen. And I've noticed the more I wear gloves and not try and, you know, sit there playing around or walk around, you know, touching the phone all the time, then that kind of actually really helps, and I don't get as much cracks. But you can still see my hands are a bit red sometimes, even in videos, even if, you know, I'm sitting far away, because, well, it kind of does that to you. So gloves are very important as well. And that also brings us to the importance, I guess, of different kind of creams and care for your skin in winter times. Like, for example, I've been told as well, because I went to the doctor with my hands a few times now, because I had that happen even just, I think, out of the dryness as well. So again, depending on where you are, winter can be very different. It can be very cold and dry, or it can be very cold and humid, and that gives like a difference of what kind of skincare you need to use. And if you're not sure about your climate, always sort of have a chat with your doctor about that, because I literally did, and they said, well, the thing is, it's so dry as well, sometimes it even rains and then, you know, snows and rains or whatever, so outside is one thing. Inside, however, you don't really control the radiators in most places here, and they crank them up. It's super warm and super dry. That has a lot of issues, so you have to think of, we did get humidifiers recently, so I'm very keen to see if that actually has any effect. Now in New Zealand it was the opposite. It was so humid you actually start getting mold and things like that, unless you actually, you know, air the room out all the time and you get a dehumidifier. So it's very different to like where you are, and it's important to know what kind of skincare to use for that as well. So I've been told that for dry climate, dry and cold in winter, you need something that's not actually water-based, and you need more sort of oily, very sort of greasy almost kind of creams, because the water doesn't really help you here, which is interesting. So you need a different type of moisturizer, and that does actually help. And that's just, you know, the clothes and everything. and we briefly touched upon creams, but now just general sort of, I guess, well-being advice. Firstly, there's just basic safety when you're in a climate like this, or you come to a climate where there's lots of snow, and you know, you could visit. There's heaps of places in Europe like that. I'm sure, you know, a lot of YouTubers from Sweden, like Sunnies, hi Sunnies, will agree that half the year basically you spend in snow. So you get used to that. You need to like stay away from certain houses because you have, you know, huge icicles building up, you have snow building up, all of that can fall down. Some of it is very dangerous. There have been people killed by icicles, like no shit, really. And around our house it's actually quite dangerous. There's people constantly knocking these things off the roof as well, so they block off, you know, the entire courtyard, going wait, and then they, you know, talk in walkie-talkies to the dudes on the roof saying stop, there's people. You really have to look up a lot as well as look down. The other really annoying thing is like snow. Not only does it build up everywhere, so the other thing it does, it tends to melt and then it tends to snow again, forming a layer of ice under snow. So sometimes it's very slippery and you don't even know, so it's important to have the right kind of shoes, I guess, that don't just slip all the way. Sometimes it melts a lot, in which case, you know, platforms really help as well. If you have platforms that aren't too slippery, it's a win-win. You walk on snow, you walk on ice, you're fine, so, you know, take extra care with that. But platforms are actually, well, I found actually really help. I didn't wear a lot of platforms during my younger years. Now I freaking swear by them, because that gets you out of puddles, that gets you out of, you know, icy situations with good soles on them and things like that, so I'm actually quite happy with that. So yeah, platforms. The other annoying thing about snow is that, of course, to combat the snow, the local authorities do all sorts of things to put on the road so that people don't slip, or it melts the snow for cars or whatever. Now, all of these things are enemies of you, basically, or your shoes. Now, a lot of these things are things like salt. So, you know, if you're crazy enough to wear suede around here, I don't envy you. But they haven't used like proper salt in a long time, and I haven't even seen sand in a long time. Sand can also kind of be really annoying, but that just means a big mess, but it doesn't like kill your shoes as much as the salt did. However, now they started putting all these chemicals on the roads, which are very annoying because they do bad things to dogs, they do bad things to shoes, and it gets really, really slippery. So driving becomes slippery. People take this on their shoes to the metro, and you go downstairs and, you know, you start slipping and falling and things like that. So it's not great. It melts the snow for the cars, I suppose, but like for pedestrians, dogs, it's just a real hazard. However, of course, we get so much snow sometimes that, like, they just can't clean in time, which cause huge traffic jams, so I don't know which is the lesser of the two evils, really, but that's again something you have to consider. And people buy all sorts of protective stuff for their shoes to ensure that they don't, you know, ruin them before their time. And I bought a spray recently. It's actually harder to care for synthetic shoes. I couldn't find as many things for it, so I did find a spray. I haven't used it yet because I'm very keen to protect my beautiful cosmic sole boots from Killstar. I did a review video up here which was very dramatic, so do watch if you haven't yet. And I really want to do that. I haven't done it yet. I need to wash them properly as well because they have a lot of intricate details, which is unfortunately a bit annoying in this weather. So I need to clean them properly, and I need to spray them to protect them because I really don't want to lose those shoes. I don't know if Killstar, sometimes they're mostly sold out of them, and I don't think if they're gonna, you know, keep bringing them back or not. They sell very well, but I don't know if that will last, so if I ever need to replace them, I'll be absolutely gutted if anything bad happens to them. And then of course there's the whole, you know, a lack of something. So, for example, in Moscow it gets dark probably closer to 4 p.m. If you're in, say, St. Petersburg, that's like 3 p.m. And if you're anywhere up north, it doesn't even probably barely gets any light, really. Also, we have a lot of cloudiness, so unless it's very snowy and pretty outside, it can get quite grey and depressing. Also, when it gets really dark, sometimes it helps to actually just change the bulbs. You know, our bulbs were so crap, and they're still crap in this room actually. We just have extra lighting for the video. But you need to like sometimes change to just, you know, that white daylight kind of lamps. You can find them, they're just called daylight lamps or bulbs or whatever. And that just, you know, it gives you so much light. It looks amazing. And it really helps lighten your mood when it's like really dark outside, especially if you work from home. And the other thing is that we had like really dark rooms around here, and because half a year it's winter, pretty much. This is strange for a goth to say, but some of you might have seen my room or parts of our room on the Instagram pictures that I've had. And you can see the furniture is white. It's white for a reason. It's a very dark room. Like, it's very dark. So I thought, okay, I always wear a lot of black. I can't take a picture of myself in a completely black room. I need more white in here. So the furniture is white there. Partially so we don't, you know, lose all our black stuff all the time, which we used to do when we had everything black. And also because you need to brighten up that room, otherwise it's just way too dark to live in, unfortunately. So everything there is like white and silver, so you can't always, I guess, as a goth, be in that, you know, completely enclosed dark space if it's dark outside. So, you know, use your imagination. Lilac, I don't know. So in general, I think, again, consult with your doctor and everything, but general recommendations usually are around that is like vitamin D, because that is for, you know, the lack of sun generally, and things like vitamin E, which is, you know, for the skin. And again, I got told that by my doctor when I went to see them with my cracked hands and everything, because that helps with the skin elasticity. But again, I'm not a doctor, it's just some of the supplements usually used, so make sure to check with your doctor before you use absolutely anything. And things like uplifting herbal teas and things like that you can use, and, you know, just stuff that makes you feel good, I guess. Like, in general, I feel much better if I actually meet up with friends, not just, you know, chat to them on Messenger or whatever, and do things together, or we go for walks. I try and go for a lot of walks. We have to take the kids to school. It's just so awkwardly located, and it's so difficult to get the car out sometimes in this type of weather. It's actually more hassle to get the car than you know, to actually walk there. So we tend to walk a lot in the mornings, even when it's dark out, but by the time you've, you know, done the rounds and everything, it's actually starts getting a bit lighter. And then I get a coffee, and it's like my morning ritual, so I feel much better. And usually if I don't feel very good or very sort of depressed or whatever, if I actually kick myself to go outside, I feel so much better after a walk. So just walking around, interacting with people, and going, you know, having a nice seasonal hot beverage with a friend in a nice place usually does absolute wonders. So, you know, just take care of yourself really, and make sure you do things that make you feel good, and not just do, you know, work and chores and work and, you know, kids and stuff like that. You do need to, you know, have some time off, some time for yourself, have a nice bath, a nice shower, whatever, watch a good show. I love this weather. I call it blanket sofa weather. When you go outside, it's freezing, you walk around, you get very cold, you come home, and then it's sofa, blanket, some nice series. Have you guys seen Wednesday? It's amazing. I am super unhappy with Gomez. I thought they could have done so much better. I mean, come on, Morticia deserves a way hotter guy. I just don't like that guy. I'm sorry if you like him. I'm really sorry, but I don't. Catherine Zeta-Jones, meh. I don't know. Wednesday nails it. Like, that dance is so amazing. Like, I don't know if she actually brought in any of her own choreography into it, but it just suits her so much. It's incredible. And I think the best part in it is the relationship between Wednesday and Enid. They're like two sides of the same person. It's amazing. I love it. I am dying to see the next season. I absolutely love it. I think it's great. It's very Harry Potter-esque, and it's a bit of a detective story. It's great. I think if they hadn't done it as a detective story, it just wouldn't work out as well. The soundtrack is just incredible. I love the soundtrack. I didn't even recognize Painted Black on that cello. I just recently read I was like, oh my god, that's what that was. I recognize some of the classical pieces, but that just took me by surprise. There was Metallica on it. I mean, amazing. Loved it. And the dance, again, like, best scene ever. And that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you found some of it useful. I don't know if you live in a colder climate, and if you don't, or if you're intending to, I don't know, go visit Santa somewhere up north in Europe or something like that, maybe you'll find some of these tips useful, and maybe not, or maybe it's just entertaining for you. And just remember, wherever you live, whatever climate you're in, just remember to occasionally cheer yourself up. Interact with other people. Don't always look at the computer. Go outside for a walk. So especially if you still have some sort of COVID restriction or whatever, in most cases you can still go outside. Just go outside. You know, seriously, it did wonders for me. Wonders, I tell you. And you sleep better, and you get fresh air, and you actually feel better. Also, if you need cheering up, message me, leave me a comment. I will cheer you up. I will tell you a horrible story about my life, and you will cheer up, I swear. So, greetings and salutations to you.